We are back with our second episode of the Landing Space podcast. Today, Mark and I are going to be talking about relationships and how to properly build a relationship in order to help build business, momentum, make friends, and honestly have an amazing time with everybody around you. That's what we're talking about today, relationships and how that can be effective for your business.
Welcome to the Landing Space podcast. Here are your hosts, Mark and Justin.
All right, so relationships, when it comes to building relationships, whether it be building your business as far as networking, I think that's, in my realm of, in my market of my business, networking is crucial because I live off clients. So building relationships, having good people around you that help you function through your daily activities. It's different. You're in real estate. I have to constantly build my relationship with the doctors that I work with. So how I do that is basically it comes down to networking. I join different associations. Let me know if this is the realm we want to go with.
Yeah.
Because we have totally different industries. So this is my go at it. I network basically meeting doctors. I go to a lot of conferences.
Yeah.
I try to meet doctors that are possibly interested in what I do. So being in healthcare and providing services to the doctors. So my business is helping them increase their revenue. But the crucial thing with that, once I establish that contract with that doctor, relationship building after that to keep them as my client is crucial.
Yeah, for me too, in that aspect. So like real estate wise, you have the client, getting the client's the best thing. But once they become the client is you can build off that relationship and get referrals out of it.
Right.
And that's always one of those key aspects that's in real estate, specifically for me, is I like to do like coffee dates where I'll like call a past client, say, hey, what are you up to? You want to go get something to drink, go grab a beer, do something like that.
Exactly.
And then talk with them and hang out. And it's always fun to find out like, hey, what have you been up to? What's been going on? But I try to do that with my clients on a regular basis and just stay that like top of mind aspect. But I think that's the easiest way to do it whenever you're relationship building, basically. Right. Especially once you have the relationship is, doing it, rolling with it that way. One of the things that I like to use, which I've been using it more frequently, I think, is I've been using this website called Sugar Rush. And it's this little box that they can order their own candy and their own food. Like you've got like candy and dog treats and like other stuff you add into it.
You set it up for them?
Yeah. So you text them. So you pay for it and you text them this link to this thing. And then they get to pick it all out. And it's like this little card that comes with it and says, thank you for being awesome. I actually just had a closing where younger couple, they ended up just having their first kid. So I ended up sending them a Sugar Rush just to say, hey, congrats on having the kid, awesome, all that sort of stuff. And they got to pick it out and they'll get cool stuff like that. I do the same thing with my agents, but it's really cool how it's set up. But it's called Sugar Rush, and it's one of those cool things that you can kind of send to people and do.
That's pretty cool. On our end, like whenever I do have that relationship with a doctor, I try to not just see them as my client. I see them like as a friend, somebody to hang out with. A lot of the doctors that I have, they're all business minded. And they always talk to me about business, but my gear to try to build a relationships, talk to them off hours.
Right.
Talk to them off hours, get them away from that mindset, take them out, go play golf. Doctors like to play golf. So I take them out to golf, give them a cigar. That's where I started bringing that on once this guy introduced me to cigars.
Yeah.
So
cigars is a great way to have conversations, especially when you're talking with like dudes. Like guys don't really like to open up and have any conversation. They need to be doing something in order to actually have like a legit conversation.
I've not had a doctor turn down a cigar.
Oh yeah.
They all will take you up on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you actually like you're sitting there, it's an hour long, you're not doing anything, you can actually have like good conversations with people. And that's the cool thing about it. And then in that aspect, you need to make sure you're listening and you're not talking about yourself the entire time when you're building it, because people do not like to listen. They like
Exactly.
to talk about themselves. You interact that way, and they talk more about themselves, and that leads to a better relationship. And it really strengthens the relationship when you spend more time listening and less time talking.
Exactly. And that goes basically under my realm as well. A lot of my clients, they have issues and they have problems, and as my company, part of my services try to fix that. So listening to them is crucial. And the fact that you listen to them kind of separates you probably from, well, for me, from other sales reps. Because when I go into doctor's offices that I've never been to, I try to pitch myself, but I'm pretty humble with it. I don't try to push anything to them. I try to just flat out tell them the truth and what my services, what I can do. Just being honest with your services. Don't oversell, don't undersell. Just kind of, well, I kind of sometimes undersell, because if I undersell, overperform, that makes me look good.
Right.
So I don't ever try to oversell, but I just being honest with the doctor, talking. And it's not, I keep saying doctors, that's my primary clientele, but I do have other services that I'm geared to the medical field. But any client, I treat them the same. Going out to their practices or their facilities once I get the contract with them, and I just constantly, even in hours, not only do I build a relationship with them, but the people that work for them. The people who work for them, if you get into the door and they know your name, just like cheers,
Right.
They call your name out, that means that's a good sign. They know you, you build a relationship with them. And if you have competitors that come and try to take the business from you, it's going to make it hard for them, because you have a relationship already. So if you have a competitor trying to get that from you, now they've got to outdo your services you provide, plus they also have to go against the relationship you've already established with that client.
Right. I think paying attention is key in that aspect also, because you can always tell when something's off or something's going on, or they say something to you. I think paying attention and like keeping a note of the conversations you're having with people allows you to build on the relationships that you have going on, because you can constantly have a question or a follow-up, because everybody's like, oh, this is what's going on with my kid. This is what's going on with my family, all that sort of stuff. So using like the notes on your phone, or even just old school, carrying a pen and paper and just writing it down. I knew a guy when I was in college that he would constantly take notes. He couldn't remember anything, but if he would meet a new person, he would write down what they looked like in his note, because he was meeting hundreds of college students on a weekly basis.
Okay.
He would write down what they're going on, and then he would ask 3 questions. And the 3 questions like, how's your week? How's school going? What are you up to? And it was a constant 3 questions, but he would make notes on it. And then when he saw you again, he would look through it and ask you the question. He'd walk up and specifically do it. And the relationships that he built with the students when he was interacting with them was crazy. I mean, to this day, everybody that I know has a fond memory of something that happened or did or something like that. And it's because he was building off that initial relationship or that initial meeting, and he was constantly adding to it. And he was doing that by paying attention. And he was paying attention to what was going on with students. He was paying attention to what was happening around him. And then he was remembering and basically making the notes. But it was crazy to see college kids that I haven't seen, 10 years talking about like, hey, how's Chad? How's Chad doing? All that sort of stuff.
Right.
And just watching him build that relationship was really, really cool on what he did.
Yeah, and building the relationships is for some of the, I guess, businesses out there. I feel like when you think about it in the business aspect, people are so easy to look at the services and the money aspect of it that they don't understand that do you want to build, and this is where a relationship really separates you from everybody. Having that quick money relationship with a doctor by just getting their contract and not even seeing them again, or building the relationship. So now, if you compare to some of my competitors, you have somebody that wants to charge $1,000, for example, for one service per day, and I can go in there and undersell them and say, okay, I'll charge you basically $400 per day. So, but with me, I keep that relationship with that client, and even though I'm offering my services a lot lower than they are, I keep that client for a lot longer than this other company ever will. So therefore, your income has actually quadrupled than what you were doing at this short term because you keep them for a long time.
Right.
So when it comes to listening, like what you were saying, Justin, listening to the clients for me is very crucial because, like you said, that we have people that, I mean, they have personal things going on in their life also, but remembering what they tell you when you come back like 2 months later,
right,
and if you haven't seen them and you remember what they told you because you listened, that kind of separates you as well. And so that basically, I don't know, in my end, doctors are kind of, I don't want to say anything negative, there's a lot of good doctors out there, but they're so business minded focused that sometimes they forget what goes on in their life. But when you ask them these questions, like you said, for example, those 3 questions you said your buddy was doing, if you have these constant questions that you ask, your clients, and you come back 3 months later, you remember what you asked them, what their answers were, how they responded to it. Sometimes, they probably forgot what they told you, but it's impressive that you remember what they tell them.
Yeah. I think giving consistently is also another way to do that, is that, like, I have a client right now that we have tenants in a building. And so we're running through tenants. We're dealing with the situation where we've got tenants that's going on and the tenants in the property. We're having to listen, all that. But she's been very good. She's been running everything through. So, I went over there and dropped off a gift card for her and said, hey, thank you so much for helping. Really appreciate what you're doing. And it really, because I gave that little bit of gift to her, it is going to make my life so much easier in the long run. Where when I ask her to do something, or we ask her we need something, or somebody's coming over to inspect something, I have a little bit more freedom because of that one little nice gift, and then she feels that she needs to give back. Because once you give somebody a gift, or you give to people feel real obligated to actually give back or help you out in the situation, however that works.
Right.
And so giving consistently, and I'm not saying to do it strategically where you're thinking about it, hoping that somebody does something. I'm shooting really from the heart, just to give consistently, openly, and just be there for people in a way that, just really show love to them. Really helps to grow your business long past whatever you could do. And if you look at the consistency giving aspect within a business, if you do that for a long period of time, you'll reap the rewards from that, because you'll have clients that'll refer other clients to you that'll say, hey, this person's a really good guy. You're listening, you're giving, you're doing everything you need to do, much like in a dating relationship when you first met your spouse or you first met your significant other. Any good relationship you have, as long as you take those things that you put into that relationship, right, and you do that consistently with your clients, you're really going to see an outpouring of support for you, and people will constantly be there to help give you referrals and help to refer you out to other stuff.
Right. Yeah. That I definitely agree with that. Just depending on the industry you're in, giving from my end would not be very beneficial for me. Being in healthcare, I'll get in some violation for doing some kind of kickback issue. But as far as me, I do get back, and giving back to my facilities that refer to me, I give them back basically assistance if they need in a different way. You're saying give them assistance and giving back my time to contribute to help them with a problem. I think that my time, for my company's time, to help them out, and usually it speaks volumes for them, just because I can't physically give them anything in healthcare because there's just a major violation.
Right.
So, like I said, different industries, yeah, but for the time that I give them, if they have issues with insurance companies, I'll help them, and that's just, and I do it outside of work hours. But yeah, that speaks volume, and I think that also builds the morale for your company and theirs to be, basically, you're not just, it makes them feel like they're just not your client, that you're actually helping to get, working together to try to benefit each other.
Right.
So
one of the things that we do yearly, pretty much, for building a relationship, and this is like outside of the relationship that I'll build individually with somebody, we like throwing parties. Like, right. I love throwing a good party. We'll throw a Super Bowl party, we'll do big birthday bashes, We'll do July 4th parties. We do a Halloween cul-de-sac party in our neighborhood. But doing parties and getting involved in those and helping people do it, I think is another way just to help meet people and to help grow your business, especially if you're in a sales business like real estate or anything else that you're doing. Helping to grow that business through just parties and attending parties and just being open and honest and conversation with people, getting you a little bit out of your comfort zone will really help grow your business and get it known and all that sort of stuff whenever you're doing it. And a way to help with that is like, if you're like, I don't want to throw a party, I don't want to do that, I'm not into that. You know, you can use sites like meetup.com and you can find things that you can go to and people that you can meet and all sorts of other little networking, like Mark was saying earlier. The more networking you do, the more businesses you're going to acquire, and that people are going to be open to using you. And there's all sorts, BNI groups, meetup groups. I mean, Facebook. Geez, you can jump on Facebook.
Facebook has everything.
Yeah, find a group that's going on. You can ask your friends, and somebody will be like, oh, I'm going to this sweet market downtown, and there's going to be people there. And you can go down there and get a drink and hang out and just talk with people.
Right.
Meeting and talking with people will be more beneficial in a lot of stuff, and it's also a very free marketing aspect of it, where it's just time oriented. As long as you have the time to do it, you put in the work, it's going to reap the reward. It might not be immediately, but it will definitely reap the reward sooner than later.
Yeah, social media nowadays are a good source for any type of meetups. If you can't, like Justin was saying, if you cannot get people together, well, you can probably invite them individually to different events. In my case, going out to a specific conference that one of my clients might want to do, or setting up a conference and having food there just for us to talk about new topics and also to network with each other. These are the people that I work with, and they meet each other and they can network with each other. The fact that you bring them together pretty much gives you the edge of having a relationship long term. But like Justin was saying, just taking them out sometimes off hours, taking them out to a meetup group that you find on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it may be. But I think that outside, I want to say, relationship building is outside work hours. To me, in my end, is more beneficial for me and for the just for my client to get their mind off business and just talk about life. Sometimes we're so, as business owners, entrepreneurs, we're so busy with business that we forget to think about what we have going on in our lives. I mean, that kind of relationship with others it's crucial, but you want to have that steady relationship with you to kind of set your mind, reset your mind, and talk about what might be going on at home. And your clients might have the same issue. They talk to you outside work hours, don't talk about business, just talking to you as a person about what they got going on, that they build that trust with you already to be able to express what they have going on. I think that's a load off in a lot of entrepreneurs' minds, just because we stay busy, we're constantly on the go, we have a lot of issues that come up, and sometimes that kind of builds up our stress level. And just networking with your clients and your friends, introducing them to one another, to get your mind off the work aspect of it, I think is one crucial way to basically just network and build that relationship with that doctor. But you don't have or client, real estate client that you have, just anything outside work hours. I think anything you do outside of work hours to get your mindset away is one strategic way that I like to do my relationship building, just because we stay at work too much, and when you want to build a relationship with somebody, why do you want to talk about work? Yeah,
that's true. And ultimately it's going to lead to other avenues, because everybody, as long as you're stating what you do and they know what you're doing,
right,
you should be able to inflow with that even outside of that stuff. And honestly, hanging out with people outside of work and not having a business conversation is way more entertaining.
Right.
And exactly. and it's more of a actual in-depth relationship building.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're forced to be there.
Right.
You're actually building a relationship, wanting to be there, wanting to grow that relationship, and then when you have the relationship, business comes afterwards.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. Yeah. So with that being said, this is our second episode of the Landing Space podcast. Stay tuned. We've got more episodes coming. And just subscribe and leave us a comment, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those down below and do some podcasts about those comments.
Of the Landing Space Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.